Welcome back, the second hour of News and Views with me, Julie Ali, and we have addressed the big story of the day, and that, of course, is the ceasefire in Palestine. And I did mention in my intro this morning that the other big story is Donald Trump's inauguration today, and what I found quite, I don't know, I think I was a bit bemused by a comment he made on television. And he said that there was a reason why God spared his life. I think he was referring to that supposed assassination attempt on his life at one of the rallies where a bullet nicked his ear. And I think that was the reference he was making, and said there was definitely a reason why God saved his life, because God has got big plans for him to make America great again. That being said, we're going to welcome our first guest regarding this matter on the show this morning, and I'm delighted to welcome to the show Dr. Oscar van Heerden. He's with UJ, and his designation is written in Afrikaans. I'm not even going to attempt to actually pronounce it, though I did do Afrikaans at school, but I haven't upkept practicing the language. So welcome. Lovely to have you on the show this morning. And please do tell us, I presume you're involved in some sort of political lecturing, studying at UJ University.
Good morning, Julie, and good morning to your listeners. Yes, I am a senior research fellow at the Center for African Diplomacy and Leadership, and my focus is particularly on Southern Africa and Africa as a whole. And I'm just on the show as a political analyst.
And I'm absolutely delighted to have you on the show. I do hope we're going to have many more discussions in the future. So let's look at the issue around Trump's inauguration today. Lots has been said by him, by his immediate family, whom it seems is going to pull into government, which surprises me. This is not kind of the done thing in the Western world, but be that as it may, he did a similar move. He pulled a similar move when he was president in his previous tenure. It seems he's going to repeat that again as well. And I know that the big issue here is the big promises he's made about crackdown on immigration. I should imagine legal and illegal, but we'll get to that in a minute or two. What does this mean? What is his now current term, next 4 years in office, going to mean for us here in Africa and particularly in South Africa?
Yeah, look, I think the starting point, Julie, is that I think we will all be in agreement when we say that this next 4 years is going to be a term of upheaval because of Donald Trump. He's one that is very clear, very conservative, some might even say very right-wing, on all matters. During his campaign trail, lots have been said, as you indicated, about immigration, about crime, about the economy, about tariffs, about China, foreign relations, and so forth, but very little about Africa, if we are honest. Trump has very rarely expressed himself in any policy certainty way around what is it that he envisaged with regards to Africa, with regards to Southern Africa. What we do know is that the Democrats took some exception with South Africa for two reasons. One, because they consider us a little bit too cozy with China and Russia. And two, they also took issue with South Africa with regards to the fact that we are in BRICS, in the BRICS formation. And we can talk a little bit about that. But for those reasons, the Democrats had a problem. There was a bipartisan position that was put forward in the House of Representatives in Congress, which said that the relationship with South Africa needs to be reviewed and in particular, the AGOA trade agreement that exists between the United States and countries in the south of Africa. So for that reason, there is some issues, but as I say, Trump has very rarely, if any, made any comments about what he has in mind for Southern Africa and South Africa.
So, talking about bilateral trade agreements, I have so many other questions. I hope we're going to have enough time to cover those very important points. You mentioned AGOA as well. And recently there's been an announcement that Ibrahim Rasool is being appointed as ambassador, South Africa's ambassador to the United States. And he has served South Africa long. In ambassadorship roles. I actually thought that he'd taken a back step and is no longer involved in, well, I wouldn't say not in politics, but I didn't think that he was an active enough member to get the ambassadorship. Was that a smart move by South Africa? I know there was a lot of negativity around his role. But do you think it was a smart move? How will he serve us well regarding trade relations?
Julie, the truth of the matter is that there were very clear indications from the State Department in the United States to South Africa, to the South African government, saying, can you please send us someone who is au fait with the workings of diplomacy, with the workings and the annals of Washington, D.C., and in other words, send us someone who's experienced. Now, I don't want to cast aspersions on the previous ambassador, but that was the message from, I'm made to understand that the message from the United States was, please send us a seasoned diplomat that knows the ongoings and the workings of diplomacy within Washington, D.C. And I think for this reason, Dirko looked around and said, Rasool has been there. He knows the operations of the United States. He has very good contacts and networks. And I think for this reason, they decided to send a seasoned individual back to the United States. Of course, as you indicate, some people were a bit surprised about it. Others took exception. Surely there should be others that can step up. But the decision from Dirko was that they needed someone with experience, that has been there, that is familiar with the inner workings of diplomacy in DC. And I think Ambassador Rasool is by far the best candidate and best person for the job.
So for now, it's going to be a wait and see situation for us here in South Africa. Trump has claimed a lot of victories as far as he's concerned. He always claims that the reason why America is in the situation, the reason why America is a world leader is because of all his negotiations with world leaders. Despite the fact that he's putting pressure on China regarding the TikTok issue, and we will get there in a minute or two, China, Xi Jinping has been invited to the inauguration, and I must say that I was surprised that I think he is going to be attending. So there are kind of rumblings with different countries all around the world. He has also gone on to claim that he brokered the ceasefire deal with Netanyahu, and thus we're seeing the ceasefire now in place. We're not sure how long it's going to hold, whether the Zionists are going to play dirty tricks on the Palestinians. We're not quite sure about it. From the time the ceasefire deal was announced, the Zionists continued bombing innocent men, women, and children in Palestine. So he's claimed to the fact that he brokered that deal. How much more do we know around it? And why is he taking credit for it? Or does he deserve the credit? Did he, in fact, threaten Netanyahu in some way or the other? And is he going to be good as far as ongoing peace, not only in Palestine, but in the Middle East as well?
Yeah, Julie, I think he can take credit for it. This is, the sad situation. The sad thing about this ceasefire is outgoing President Blinken wanting to take credit for the deal, and actually he had.
Biden, but you mentioned Blinken, but is it
I mean,
Blinken
so
or
Biden.
Biden? Biden, okay.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is President Biden wanting to take credit for this deal when he had absolutely nothing to do with it. You would recall, Julie, that everyone in the world always knew that, in terms of previous experiences, one phone call from the White House to Netanyahu or the Israeli government saying this matter must stop, and that would have done the trick. But Blinken and Biden just did not want to make that phone call. In fact, they were complicit in the ongoing genocide that is taking place in Gaza. So, with the inauguration at the doorstep, with President Biden indicating that more billions of dollars is going to be made available. I mean, $25 billion in just over a year is what the US gave the Israeli government. And Trump said no more. I don't want this matter to overshadow my inauguration. One of the first things I'm going to do is stop it. He sent an envoy to meet with Netanyahu and basically say the deal that was put on the table in May last year already, that deal is now going to stand. It's a done deal. Get in line. And that's what's happened. So, all credit to President Trump, because indeed, he is the one who sent an envoy and said, we are going to have this deal. And that's that.
Okay, so Dr. Van Heerden, let's understand how that will impact positively on the Palestinian people, because analysts, economists, political analysts, and analysts of all types from all walks of life have been saying that to rebuild Gaza is going to take 20, 30 years. The Palestinian people have returned to an absolute wasteland as far as Gaza is concerned. It's going to take lots of money to start the rebuilding. It's going to also involve global leaders to get involved in rebuilding Gaza. How do you see all of this playing out? And the fact that Trump has put his foot down on the matter, is he going to make funds available for the rebuilding of Gaza? And obviously, this is going to, in whose interest would it be, apart from the Palestinian people?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we will all agree that all of that had to start with a ceasefire. Hostilities needs to be put to bed. That the humanitarian trucks must come in, 600 trucks per day, and the more the merrier, to build up the resolve, the health, the energy of Palestinians in Gaza. But I do think that this is the beginning of the end. What I mean by that, Julie, is that there is no more putting the genie back into the bottle. I think the Israelis and the Israeli government, for that matter, has realized that they have come out of this situation in a very, very bad light. And with the departure of Netanyahu, and it is going to happen, I think the world is going to rally behind the Palestinians, and there's going to be some global effort to try and rebuild Gaza. It's going to take long, but what's important is that we must commend the Palestinians and their resolve during this 744 days of genocide against them. They've stood tall, yes, at heavy losses, but they are back in northern Gaza, and they are ready to rebuild their lives. And I think all of us in the global south need to come to their aid to try and assist in that effort. As to whether Trump will make funds available, I think that's a stretch too far, perhaps, but certainly put pressure on Israel and perhaps some of the European partners to say, what are we doing to assist in the effort to rebuild the lives of Palestinians?
Trump has come into office, is going to be inaugurated. 4 years of a lot of negotiations, 4 years of an almost broken world, because we also have the situation in the Ukraine. I want your thoughts on that as well. But let's just stick with the Middle East right now. Why do you suppose that during this genocide, there were certain countries, that certain Arab countries, that looked the other way? What did they stand to lose? Was it going to be a situation regarding their relations, their trade relations, bilateral trade relations, all of that, as far as America and other Western countries are concerned? Or was it the fear that should other neighboring Arab countries come to the aid of the Palestinian people, it could have sparked or started a third world war?
Julie, it's a very interesting question, and I think that all countries in the global south, in Africa, in Latin America, and as far as the Far East, we all need to do some serious introspection about this live streamed genocide. I think that not only the Arab countries, but a lot of countries in the third world could have done much more to come to the aid of the Palestinian people. But as you say, the Arab states are much closer to the theater.
I've just lost. Oh, okay. Carry on.
They have to
I
do some
lost you there for a
serious.
minute.
They have to do some serious introspection as to why they still collaborated with the likes of the European Union and America whilst this genocide was unfolding. I think that the Muslim world generally has to do some serious introspection because, if it wasn't for, unfortunately, as I said, for Trump, this genocide would have continued unabated. And Saudi Arabia and others would have stood by, Jordan, Egypt, etc., and not done anything. And I think those are very serious questions that they would have to ask going forward.
Let's move back to Trump. His inauguration. Let's see what we believe the following 4 years are going to look like. Do you believe that he's managed to put a stop to the genocide for now, we hope, the genocide on the Palestinian people? What's going to happen with the Ukrainian situation? That's also been stretched out for quite a long while now. What do you suppose he will do to intervene to make that stop?
Yeah, I think the answer is very clear. The biggest sponsor for the Ukrainian war has been the United States. And I think Trump is simply going to cut off that support financially and militarily. He has said in his campaign that war is going to end within 24 hours once I take office. I think it might take a little bit longer, perhaps a few weeks. But at the end of the day, I think NATO, the European Union, and America needs to accept the simple truth, which is that they've lost this war. Russia has stood tall. And they would have to go to the negotiations table to find a solution out of this war. But it is coming to an end, abruptly so, very, very soon.
Let's just take a step back. In one of your responses to me, you spoke about the concern around BRICS. There's also been talk about working on introducing the BRICS currency. How is that going to impact on Donald Trump, his policies, and the US dollar? Could that be a reality? And if so, are we going to, will that bode good news for the global south?
We have to prepare ourselves for stormy waters. I think Donald Trump and his administration is very clear. They take exception to the BRICS formation. They take exception to the de-dollarization campaign that is taking place within BRICS. And remember, Julie, the problem for us as South Africans is that South Africa is the weakest link within the BRICS alliance. We are the smallest, and so we can be made an example of. And so I think we should be wary. The administration is certainly going to try and do something to remind us why they are the hegemon and why they can weaponize the dollar and will take exception to anyone who threatens the US dollar. So we're in for stormy waters, is what I think.
As it is been stormy waters currently with our political situation in South Africa, so we don't need more troubles, do we? Let's move on to Donald Trump and his huge effort. He's made lots of very strong statements regarding large-scale deportation of illegal immigrants to, obviously, the south of their shores, that's to South America, and I guess other illegal immigrants. when he served his first term in office, he spoke about building a wall. I think it did, in fact, start much like the Berlin Wall in the Second World War, where Nazi Germany tried to keep out, obviously, Jews and other such people from their very hallowed grounds. Is that a possibility? Do you think it's going to go ahead? And the cost to America?
Yeah, no, he's going to go ahead. This is going to be by far his legacy. He's going to mass deport illegal immigrants. He's going to build a fence or a wall or some sorts to keep illegal immigrants out. I think this is going to be by far the policy legacy of Donald Trump. He doesn't care about the cost. As far as he's concerned, if we can give billions and billions of dollars to foreign countries such as Ukraine, Israel, and elsewhere, then we can redirect those funds to benefit Americans, ordinary Americans. And that's been his mantra from the very beginning. So, yes, he is going to mass deport very soon, and he is probably going to build a wall or some fence of sorts on the southern border.
A lot of immigrant families have bemoaned the fact that this immigration law that he will pass is going to break up families and communities, because immigrants that have settled illegally and otherwise in the United States have started families and they've grown communities. That's going to be very heartbreaking, is it not? And how's that going to impact on the economy? Because a lot of Americans depend on, very much like in South Africa and other such countries, they are used to the cheap labor of illegal immigrants. That is a huge issue, is it not?
Yeah, Donald Trump and his supporters don't care about that. They're going to break up families. They're going to mass deport people. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, young black men in particular and young black Hispanic Americans are the ones that are going to fill those posts and do those. The truth is that they don't care. They are going to break up families. They are moving on with this policy.
There are a lot of unemployed Americans.
Unfortunately, I have to go soon.
Okay, let's wrap up. We will talk with you in the near future, hopefully. Just to wrap up, your final thoughts regarding what we've covered and Donald Trump's forthcoming legacy as far as America and the world is concerned.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump is going to, as I say, fulfill the promises that he's made to the American people. His focus singularly is to try and build the economy. I don't think tariffs is the way, but he's threatening with tariffs. I think the threats of tariffs is to try and get China and others, the European Union and so forth, at the negotiation table to renegotiate the rules that will obviously benefit America in the end. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But as I said, a term of upheaval on all fronts because of Donald Trump.
So let the fun begin. Fun and games begin. Thank you indeed for your insights. I look forward to talking with you sometime again in the future. God bless.
Thank you, Julie.
That was Dr. Oscar van Heerden from UJ talking to us about the inauguration and the office of Donald Trump. We're going to be having, I think, 4 years of fun, games, and a lot of worry as well. It is exactly 9:32 a.m. This is News and Views on Salam Media. We still have another half an hour to go, so do stay with us.